This is all from someone you were told as a child you had learning disabilities.
Yeah, when I was first grade, I had Mrs. McLaughlin, who was a
McLaughlin.
first grade teacher, who sat in front of my parents in a little reading circle. Myself and my mother and my father, we sat in a little reading circle. And I had previously been in the reading class and got demoted down to the remedial reading and then got demoted into the dunce class and had to wear a dunce cap. And that's how they did it.
God.
Face the window kind of when I was a kid.
Was that a public school?
Yeah.
Wow.
In the 1950s, that's what they did. So what happened was I was told by my teacher in front of my parents that I'm afraid your son will never be able to read, never be able to write, never be able to communicate, never amount to anything, never go very far in life. He's got learning disabilities and dyslexias and things. And he just won't make it. So if I were you, I'd put him into sports, which I can say thank you for because I excelled in baseball and eventually in surfing, which brought me to Hawaii. Back in 1971, I came to Hawaii.
Which island?
Mainly Oahu, but I actually visited a couple of the other islands to surf, but I was on mainly the North Shore of Oahu, surfing the North Shore.
One of the big questions, this will be a faux question from the audience, has to do with relationships. What are a few ways to create a long-lasting love relationship?
Well, I think it goes back to the Delphic Oracle when it says, know thyself, love thyself, be thyself kind of thing. I think there's a number of factors. One, you have to look at yourself and realize that if you really want somebody to stick around with you, you have something to offer. Why would somebody be with you for your life unless you're an amazing person that somebody would want to be with? So I think empowering all areas of our life and becoming something extraordinary, which is what our birthright is and what we're really made of, I think is a key. You know, doing something that's really extraordinary. I had a lady who was in a program that I was doing on relationships, and she says, what do you do when you got a guy who can't commit? And I said, well, obviously there's a girl that's not a package to him. And she goes, what do you mean? I says, he's got the problem, he can't commit. I said, no. If a man runs into a woman that's got a tremendous thing to offer in all 7 areas of life, spiritually, mentally, vocationally, financially, family, social, and physical, that man's on his knees. But if he doesn't quite sure if he thinks that this is going to be a good package that's going to offer something to him, he hesitates. So it's not that he's not able to commit. It's just that he has to have an extraordinary package. And she goes, well, what do you mean? And her own self-image, I asked her, are you some sort of spiritual goddess? And she says, well, not really. I said, are you the most awakened spiritual being in the world? She goes, well, not really. And I said, are you the most mental ingenious person who's got this incredible IQ and mental capacities and intuitive capacities and high education? She goes, no, not really. I didn't go but past high school. I said, do you have some sort of vocational multinational corporation or some great thing to offer him in the business world? She goes, no, I work as a secretary. I said, do you have this vast fortune that you are offering, a dowry of some form? She goes, no, I'm in debt. You have this great family stability? And she says, no, I've been married twice and I've been divorced. And you have this great social connection and networked across the world? And she goes, no. I says, are you the hottest looking thing and the most beautiful and most amazing lover? And she goes, well, we do okay there. I said, well, can you see your own self-image is low? And as long as your self-image is low, lower than what he is looking for, he's not going to commit. And then I took her over and sat with her privately for 2.5 hours and asked her a series of questions that awakened inside her a transformation of her own self-image. Because the truth is she had way more, a magnificence in her, power in her that she wasn't acknowledging and recognizing. And I asked her these questions which helped bring out her awareness of that and her power. And as she was awakened and realized that she had spiritual something, she had something mind development, it was unique, but it was her. So many people subordinate themselves to outside authorities and inject those values in their life and then think that they're not good because they don't match to those, instead of honoring themselves. So we went around and I asked her questions that helped her empower all 7 areas, which is in my book, The Heart of Love, the new book, and the Breakthrough Experience. And she arose. She literally emerged out of this self-depreciating perspective. When she got through after 2.5 hours, I said, now, are you in a hurry up to get married to this guy? And she goes, well, right now, no. I said, how come? She goes, because right now I want to make sure this is the right guy. I don't want to go through the same cycle again. I said, well, right now you have a different image and you have some empowerment. And as a result of that, you get treated differently. Because when you value yourself, people around you value you. If you treat yourself as if you're extraordinary, people start treating you that way. And they want to be around that. They don't want to go. Well, this is a true story. It's amazing. During at the end of that, we went to lunch in this program. Came back 55 minutes later, and in the corner of the room was her and 6 other women gathered around. and the guy, and the men were over near the window. They were at the seminar. And whenever I see the men and women separate, I know the women just had something bought or something, and the women are getting away from it.
The women what?
The men are when the men are away from near the windows and the women are gathered together looking at something, I know something just been bought and they're showing them up.
Right.
So I come back in there and I said, all right, what's going on over here? She holds up a $28,000 diamond ring. The guy that she was with that she said he couldn't commit, committed and got, or quote, bought her a ring and proposed to her at lunch. And I went over there and asked him in the seminar in front of everybody. I said, well, what made you all of a sudden out of the blue do that? Because this morning she was saying you couldn't commit and everything else. He says, well, while you were working that, I was doing this Demartini method on her and starting to appreciate qualities I never saw. And I started to dissolve some of my anxieties about my past baggage with women and also appreciating her. And while you were working with her, I felt this energetic dynamic change, kind of like a quantum effect change. And I was feeling like, God, I'm afraid if he goes over there and makes her see that she's so powerful, she might dump me. Mm-hmm. And when he actually felt that she might go or be independent, that's when all of a sudden he got on his knees. And I explained to her, I said that any area of your life that you don't empower, somebody else overpowers you. And if you don't empower your life and acknowledge how much power you have and how much you have to offer, then why would somebody want to be with you? So that's the first thing. Make sure that's the first thing, to acknowledge that you have something magnificent to offer the world. Because until you invest in yourself, don't expect anybody else to. Until you acknowledge yourself, don't expect anybody else to. Until you want to be with yourself the rest of your life. If you aren't somebody that you want to go, wow, I love myself, why would somebody else? So you have to love yourself, you have to appreciate yourself and empower yourself if you want to be able to have more options and grab a hold of somebody. Because when you get married, as I talk about in my book, The Heart of Love, there are all these other people out there that are going to be competing for that same man or the same woman. And if you don't keep on your cutting edge of knowing what their values are and providing something of great value to them, somebody else will come along.
So there's something you say in your workshop that's phenomenal, and that has to do with communicating in someone else's values. What's that about?
Well, I had a lady who was in New York who was sent there by her husband to get fixed, which I thought was funny.
Fixed meaning?
Well, he called me up and says, look, Dr. Demartini, I need you to help fix my wife. We're having some problems, fix her. I said, well, can you come along? I tried to get him to come along, and he wasn't able to make it, so I worked with his wife. I stayed a whole day in a hotel room with this woman, okay? And what's quite interesting, I was basically helping her identify what his values are. And we narrowed down 5 of the most important things that are important to him. And we narrowed down her 5 values. And his was business and making money and golfing and socializing with his buddies and you know, building power, financial power. And hers was family and social and family and house and beauty and very typical male-female energies.
Right.
And what I asked her, I said, well, how is him going to work and working diligently for long hours like he does, how is that helping you with the family? She says, it's not. That's the problem. I said, well, how are you focusing and making this family work and taking care of the kids? How's it helping build his business? She says, I have no idea. I said, if you can't see how what you're dedicated to is serving him, and you can't see how what he's dedicated to serving you got no relationship. I said, so I kind of woke her up. She had to realize that she was negating him and projecting her values onto him and expecting him to be more like her, and he was doing the same. And as you know, if 2 people are exactly the same, one's not necessary, which destroys the relationship. So 2 people who are ignorant of the other person, who cares less about them than themselves, will project their values onto the other person and expect the other person to live according to their values, which will automatically set each other up for betrayal and resentment and walls, and erodes the relationship very quickly. But when you finally realize that they're dedicated to their values, and the only thing you can ever expect them to do is live according to their values, and if you can't see how what their values and what they're dedicated to is going to serve you, then you're not going to have a relationship. So you have to ask the question, because the quality of your life is based on the quality of the questions you ask. How specifically is what their highest values are and what they're most dedicated to going to serve my highest values and what I'm most dedicated to? And it's not a matter of if it does, it's a matter of how does it. And you keep answering that, and you keep linking that, and keep answering and answering and answering that, and come up with 100 links if necessary.
Well, elaborate on links. What does that mean?
Linking means you have to link what they're dedicated to what you're dedicated to. Like in this case, I asked her, so how does him working help you?